bipartisan plans to get rid of surprise medical bills when you think you're in network and the big bill says you're not. A school district tries to shut down someone making jokes about it, and I bet you can guess which school district. Another day, another new challenger for Republican Senator Cory Gardner, and this one isn't afraid of the I word. And RTD announces big news for its long-delayed train line to the northwest side of town. Is it opening? Nah, who are you kidding? This is next. Surprises. Great for parties, bad for medical bills. Thousands of you are thrown a curve in Colorado each year when you think that your insurance covers something, and it doesn't. Chris Vanderveen from our 9 Wants to Know team has spent a year investigating, and today, wouldn't you know, he found some state legislators ready to do something about it.
We knew something was amiss when we started finding liens on homes of patients who did nothing more than visit a hospital in network with their insurance.
They put a lien on your home.
Yep.
It wouldn't have occurred to me that a surgeon would be out of network at an in-network facility.
You don't ask, as you're being wheeled into the operating room, oh, are you in my network for my health insurance?
170 liens filed by one company in less than 2 years. Many meant to force patients to pay out-of-network surgeons they never chose.
It's completely unfair.
Governor Jared Polis told me this week surprise medical billing is a problem desperately in need of a solution.
You shouldn't be able to extort people just because they're not in the network.
By surprise out-of-network bills.
Thursday, for the 5th time in as many years, legislators pledged to prevent patients who visit in-network hospitals from getting bills from providers out of network with their insurance.
It blows my mind that this is even legal.
Representative Danae Esker sponsored last year's failed attempt. She remains convinced there won't be another failure this year.
This is the year we're going to get this done for Coloradans.
The legislation, introduced Thursday afternoon in the House, would keep patients out of the long-standing disputes between insurance companies and medical providers. To date, a bill like this has never made it out of committee, not once. This bill likely hits its committee vote in a couple of weeks. For Next, this is Chris Vanderveen.
And it might just move because this legislation has Democratic and Republican support. There is a complicating factor. There is a second bill also introduced today that would also try to eliminate surprise bills. It too is bipartisan. We'll keep an eye on both of them. The stairwells at Mile High were supposed to be put on trial this month after a fan fell to his death after a game at the stadium in 2016. But then money made that lawsuit go away. Jason Coy died after he went over a handrail and fell 60 feet or so following a Broncos game. His widow sued the stadium district, which means she essentially sued you, the taxpayers in the 7 metro area counties that own the stadium together. We have learned that that lawsuit was settled. The amount is confidential, but we found out that no taxpayer dollars were used. It was paid out of the insurance carried by the Broncos. It's required in their stadium lease. The Douglas County Sheriff is standing by his deputies, standing by their chase policy after 2 innocent people were killed following a chase yesterday. Here's our Anusha Roy.
The heartbreak wasn't lost in this room.
All of that is a tragedy. All of that could have been avoided if the individual that was driving the Mitsubishi that we have in custody and the individual that was driving the stolen vehicle out of Castle Pines in the Jeep had not done those crimes.
Douglas County Sheriff Tony Spurlock said his deputies made the right call to pursue a stolen Jeep. Then they spotted a speeding Mitsubishi, possibly connected, going the wrong way. That Mitsubishi ultimately hit another car, killing 2 innocent people.
I do not believe the chase caused the accident at all because we weren't chasing that Mitsubishi. We couldn't even get close to see what kind of car it was.
But since they shared a portion of dashcam video that shows deputies following the car, we asked, what's the difference?
We're splitting hairs because we were going after that car for driving recklessly on the wrong side of the road through a construction site. But the reality of it is that we were so far away from that car could have turned any direction and we would have lost it because we could barely see it. And that does not fit within our confines of pursuit.
By the time deputies caught up, the crash had already happened. And while the sheriff stands by his policy,
I'm very close to my community. And the community supports the decisions of the Douglas County Sheriff's Office in large part.
He still has to go back and review it, as well as his deputies' decisions. It's standard, but not always easy.
Oh, many times.
Dan Montgomery knows because he was a former Westminster police chief.
Training, supervision, judgment, emotional control, and tactics. And when you do a review, you've got to look at those 5 factors.
So the policy allows Douglas County deputies to pursue someone who is in a stolen car or driving dangerously in case that they could kill someone else. We did, however, today we just found out the names of the two people, Kyle, who did pass away. Their names are Jane DeVixen and Ryan Carter. Both of them are in their 20s.
Just absolutely terrible. Two people who were doing nothing wrong. Nope. So Sheriff Spurlock starts out by saying that none of this would have happened if people didn't steal those cars. Okay, I see that.
Sure.
Does he acknowledge that the chase does increase the danger? Is he just saying in this particular instance he doesn't think the chase increased the danger?
Yeah, that's a good clarification. He is talking about in this particular instance, he does not think the chase played a role in the crash. But overall, when you look at their policy, every agency is acknowledging how dangerous a chase can be.
All right. Anusha, thank you. Andrew Romanoff is not being cautious. On the day that the former Colorado House Speaker and 9 News political analyst announced that he's running against Republican Senator Cory Gardner, Romanoff laid down some pretty clear markers. He supports a Green New Deal, impeaching President Trump, and giving government a bigger role in health care. When we talk about the idea of universal health care, it's going to be a big part of your campaign. Different people are going to call it different things. Universal health care or Medicare for all or single payer or nationalized health care. Recently, we heard Democratic Senator Kamala Harris of California go even farther and suggest it cannot coexist with private insurance. You just have to get rid of for-profit health care in America. Do you agree with that?
Well, I support Medicare for all. And frankly, under existing Medicare's system, you can get private insurance to supplement the coverage that you might want. And that's fine with me. But making sure that everybody is in this pool so we can hold down costs and expand coverage is essential.
So this is your third attempt to win a seat in Congress. What did you learn from your first two campaigns?
I'll tell you, I've learned over the last 4 years, to be honest, Kyle, that there are a lot more important things than losing an election. I lost, as you know, someone I loved to suicide 4 years ago, and I've spent the last 4 years determined to make sure that nobody else in Colorado has to suffer this kind of anguish. So the hits I will take, I expect, in the course of a political campaign are part of the territory now, but they're nothing compared to the struggles that so many people in this state are going through every day.
Electability, though, is a fair concern for Democratic primary voters. They're going to have a lot of candidates to choose from, and they're going to want to win. And there are going to be people who say last time Andrew Romanoff was in a high-profile race that a lot of national Democrats were invested in, you underperformed.
Well, it's true. I lost. We did the math, actually. We decided in this election we're going to try to get more votes than the other guys. That's
smart. I like that.
Look, the truth is, I think what voters want is to see in their elected officials is resilience. When your kid falls down, you don't say, hey, stay there. You say, get up. And I intend to get up and fight every single day because the stakes are too high to do anything less.
I try not to laugh during the political interviews, but that was a funny line he had. There are 5 Democrats in this race, and there are more coming. You can see our full conversation with Andrew Romanoff, as well as our discussion with the other high-profile challenger, former State Senator Mike Johnston. They're both on the next YouTube page. The Douglas County School District has recently displayed a special ability to turn one problem into 2 problems. They took the problem of a teacher and union leader who harassed a kid online and called him Hitler Youth, and then created a second problem out of it by having law enforcement escort away a parent who dared bring it up to the school board. Today, Dougco Schools again displayed its special talent for making a situation worse. They tried to get Twitter to shut down an account that was making fun of the district. Doing so brought way more attention to this parody account than it had already. Where some public agencies might tolerate a little criticism or jokes, Dougco Schools is like, kill it with fire. They stand a better chance of shutting down people's speech inside their school board meetings, but you have to admire the chutzpah of a school district that also thinks it can discipline the internet. RTD stands for Regional Transportation District, but ridiculously tedious delays would work as well. Take the G-Line train to Arvada and Wheat Ridge. It was supposed to open in what, 2016? RTD is now trumpeting that it's just cleared 2 more hurdles in way of opening the line. Our Marshall Zellinger found there are 7 more to go.
The G-Line is chugging along. Federal regulators just granted a waiver for its crossing gate times. Hurdle jumped. Federal regulators also certified the G-Line's Positive Train Control, the computer system that monitors the train's movements. That does not mean the G-Line can pick up passengers yet. There are more hurdles. State regulators now need to go out and verify that the crossing gates work as promised. Then RTD needs to certify those crossings and have state regulators not object. Another hurdle, RTD RTD needs to give both state and federal regulators its plan to remove the flaggers. A big hurdle, RTD needs to request a federal waiver that paves the way for quiet zones, which is key because RTD told me the G line will not carry one single passenger until quiet zones are approved. The feds would have to grant that waiver, allowing cities like Arvada and Wheat Ridge to request the quiet zones. Once requested, there's a 21-day waiting period, and if the feds stay silent during those 21 days, the quiet zones will exist, and then the G line will stand for Get On Board.
I love the music and those graphics. You might have caught in that story a tidbit I didn't even know. The G line will never open with passengers without quiet zones being established, something the A line hasn't even achieved yet. Kyle, that's a pretty bold statement there.
Some people are going to want a quiet zone from those graphics and that music there. Reason why with the quiet zones, though, that G line goes through a lot more residential neighborhoods than the A line does. The A line has annoyed the bejesus out of people with those sirens, but there's more people to annoy on the G line.
And they're being annoyed now during the testing phase because the horns are still going.
All right. That was a fun game. Thank you, Marshall.
Kim, Susie, Elizabeth, Christy, Nate, Joan, Stephen, Cecilia, Philip, Kim, Carol Ann, Terry, Mary, Bob. Thank you for reaching out and letting me know that nurses indeed require licenses in the state of Colorado. Carol, Tammy, Rachel, Beth, Jennifer, Loretta, Ingrid, Teresa, Marie, Mary, Jessica, Karen, Sherry, Laura, Diane. Thank you. I now know there are multiple nursing licenses and requirements that you all must meet just to be able to do your jobs. Polly, Betsy, Vivian, TL, Lucy, Dawn, Brian's wife, Elaine, Mona, Nancy, Gregory, Christine, Cynthia, Phyllis, and Glenda. Thank you for being kind in your emails and being understanding of my mistake. Thank you.
Our You've Crossed a Line segment is usually about humans, but we're not above shaming animals. This is not How You Colorado. You can take my word for it, or maybe the law needs to get involved. And we remember one of the most interesting people we've met on next.
And I just laid down on the beach and said, that's it. I couldn't care less what happened.
A tribute to a Dunkirk survivor who bravely shared his story with you. Next.
Arctic ice as art. And speaking of Arctic, we started off this morning with a low at DIA of -11. You only have one way to go when you have a number like that, but we didn't go far. 15 are high at the airport, managed 20 downtown, 45 is the average, and we're trending in the right direction, but it's already 2 degrees outside with a wind chill of -13. That cold Arctic air mass diving south, our storm moving quickly to the east. Blizzard warnings, wind chill warnings north and east of Colorado. Our state, things winding down, calming down. High pressure will bring winds out of the southwest tomorrow, mostly sunny, other than a little bit of fog early on and a bit of a mountain wave along the foothills. Really a beautiful forecast shaping up for Friday and the weekend. With clear skies, light winds, and good radiational cooling, though, you know we're going to have another very cold night with lows in areas like Gunnison and Alamosa to 20 below. We start off tomorrow morning at 2 above, come close to 40 in the afternoon. We'll get to a warmer day on Saturday, mountain snow Sunday, and a chance for a little light snow here on Tuesday, but that is a Valentine's Day forecast to love, a high near 50.
Kathy, thank you. So it would seem that a few of our neighbors need a polite reminder. That's not how you Colorado. Talking to you, too busy to clear the snow off my car guy. Come on, were you peeking out? You peeking out a little peephole there, buddy? Come on. Next viewer spotted a ton of them in the snow this week. Depending on where you are driving in the metro area, you might get a ticket for not clearing off your windows. What else do you see around town that's definitely not our way of doing business? Email next@9news.com or get our attention with the hashtag HeyNext. Come on back for a recommendation of an outsider's view on a Colorado tradition, and a guy who told us that he was lucky to be alive, as we were lucky to hear his story. Next. May I make a recommendation? Love to point you toward work done by other journalists, other people in our community and elsewhere that I think is worth your time. We love accounts about Colorado that are through the eyes of outsiders, and that's why I'm recommending that you check out the New York Times look at the National Western Stock Show. They just published this week. This is not city slicker gawking at Western culture. It's a real celebration, especially of how rodeo clothing has changed through the years. We have a link to that Times article on the next Facebook page. John Carpenter, we met him here. If his name doesn't ring a bell, how about this? He survived the Dunkirk attack in World War II. When the movie Dunkirk was popular in theaters in 2017, John shared his real-life story with our Steve Steger. Steve learned that John passed away last week at the age of 100.
John Carpenter was born in the summer of 1918, 99 years before a movie gave us a view of some of the worst moments of his life.
People don't realize what we had to put up with on that beach. And I just laid down on the beach and said, that's it. I couldn't care less what happened.
That's how we met John. He told us how a Scottish soldier dragged him to a boat and took him home.
Well, I was lucky, really, but it upset me to see so many of those boys get killed like it. And I felt terrible when I got back.
After his honorable discharge from the British Army, the man who had been saved joined the Red Cross to help people the way he had been helped. Then he raised a family, 2 daughters, who gave him 6 grandchildren, 12 great-grandchildren, and 16 great-great-grandchildren. He moved to the States to follow them. His daughter Pat says one of his proudest moments was actually our interview.
Because me pictures going on the television.
Well, there you go.
That's why I'm happy.
She says he told everyone he met that he got to tell his story on TV. John called me from time to time after we shot that story in 2017. We chat for a while. I could tell how proud he was of his family, his service, and his life. John Carpenter was 100 years old. Well, he would have wanted me to tell you he was 100 and a half. Rest well, sir. Thank you for your service.
You can see John Carpenter's original first-hand account of Dunkirk on the next YouTube page. Your feedback is right around the corner this evening. And also, do you too get aggravated when your iPhone corrects a word to ducking? No one has ever tried to type ducking, except perhaps for the story we have for you next. Most of the people politely chastened with our You've Crossed a Line segment are actual people, but it is ducking time. We called these guys out because they have flocked up another parking lot, this time a grocery store near Sloan's Lake. Understand you want to get out of the storm, ducks, just don't do it in the handicapped parking spaces. Send us the line crossers you see. Email next at 9news.com. Amy says, who got the fun job of animating the G-Line train? That was great. That was our very talented editor, Jeff Sawtell. Steve Reed says he lives 90 seconds from the Ward Road station on the G-Line and says the music you guys used is way less annoying than that train horn. Dan says, so they still need to establish quiet zones for the G-Line train, and the A-Line hasn't even gotten them approved yet. Listen, Dan, I don't know, maybe they'll announce tomorrow that the A-Line has gotten its quiet zones together. Maybe I'll even tell you about it next time.